Hey there, this is Michael Lewis. I've written a bunch of books, including Moneyball, The Big Short, The Blind Side, and most recently, The Premonition. But these days, I've also gotten into telling stories through audio. I host a podcast called Against the Rules, where I ask what's happening to fairness in American life. I've been looking at the changing roles of different authority figures and trying to understand how those roles have changed in recent times. It's a pretty broad mandate, but I kind of think that if you don't go wide, it's hard to go deep. The first season of Against the Rules was all about referees, in sports of course, but also in the courtroom and in the art world and other places. This audiobook is an adaptation of our second season. That one is all about coaches. Why coaches? It goes back again to this wider question of fairness. And the world of sports is incredibly useful as a metaphor for what's going on with the rules in American life. Unlike referees, coaches are not about enforcing or arbitrating fairness, but good coaches can give the people they coach a competitive advantage. It can be subtle, like helping folks develop a better awareness of what's going on in their heads when they're under pressure. Or coaches can help train the young or inexperienced in the rules of a complex system, the way the rules really work, not how you might imagine or want them to work. But I didn't want to look at coaching just as a way to explore this question of unfairness. It's also personal for me. In this book, I'll take you back to my teenage years in New Orleans, where a coach changed my life. Later in the book, you'll hear me work with a coach as he tries to get me to overcome one of my deepest fears. Good coaches do something that's really hard to put your finger on. I think the best way to understand what that is to hear them at work and then ask the big question. Why do more and more of us need a coach just to stay on the field? Now let me give you a taste of what's to come in this audiobook. I've long been fascinated by the world of finance, and now it's taking over more and more of our lives, especially when it comes to personal debt. So in our first chapter, The Invisible Coach, I start out looking at a game that most of us play even though we don't really understand the rules. Credit card companies are making billions of dollars off their naive and uncoached customers. In this chapter, we meet teacher Katie Hyland, who's no different from many working folks who started drowning in debt. She's our case study to ask, what if she got a coach to help her understand the game? We meet a self-made tech founder who's trying to create a good bank, one that helps people get out of debt rather than driving them further into it. In Chapter 2, I revisit my high school days in New Orleans to tell the story of Billy Fitzgerald, also known as Coach Fitz, the baseball coach who changed my life. Along the way, I make the case for old-school, tough-love coaching, especially for kids whose families are privileged, even though they're the least likely people to get the benefits of coaches like Fitz anymore. These days, for better or worse, just about anyone can call themselves a coach. We have life coaches. We have executive coaches. In Chapter 3, we go all the way back to the origins of this kind of coaching and meet Timothy Galway, author of the 1974 classic, The Inner Game of Tennis. We also find out how mental skills coaches only need one coaching toolkit to work with everyone from New York City firefighters to young softball players to professional musicians and even writers with a podcast. Chapter 4 I call The Coach Effect. Colleges in the U.S. talk a big game about valuing diversity. So why are so many of them failing to retain first-generation students? We meet a homeless straight-A track star and the woman who became her ad hoc college application coach. We also go deep with coaches and students at a nonprofit called Scholar Match. It was founded by novelist Dave Eggers. He and his coaches talk about everything it takes to get first-generation college students over the graduation finish line. Chapter 5, The Data Coach, is kind of an update of my book Moneyball. I wanted to look at the quantitative, scientific, and data-driven new frontier of coaching in baseball. Major League Baseball is still undergoing a coaching revolution based on data analysis. In this new world, it's not so much about being a charismatic coach, but being a techie who can put data to use. We also explore how data coaching is creeping into workplaces. The future of our basic human skill, talking, is being changed by data-driven, computerized conversation coaches. In Chapter 6, I take a little loop back in time to England, in the days when coaching was really frowned upon and viewed as a form of cheating. But coaching is clearly spreading now into more areas of life, which means it matters a great deal who gets coaching and who does not. And the people who don't get it are often the ones who need it the most. We also take a look at the darker side of data coaching in sports, when the weaponization of information enables a cheating scandal that puts an end to a promising pitching career. Can everyone be coached, or are some people beyond help? In particular, am I beyond help? In the final chapter, Aim Higher, I put the transformative power of coaching to the test. I enlist a coach to help me tackle what is perhaps my longest-lasting insecurity: my own voice. After meeting all these coaches and the people they help, I'm left with a few takeaways, things I know now that I didn't know about coaching when I started. I expected to see and did see the many ways coaching creates, or at least exacerbates, unfairness in the world. But I also got a lesson I didn't really expect. The best coaches eventually make themselves redundant. They coach you so well, you discover in yourself the power to change for the better. The best coaches show you the transformative power you had inside you all along. You just needed the right mirror to be able to see it.